the work of document the abuse to the forefront, and a way to help us empower those who are, you know, going through abuse and giving them a way to change their outcomes. So that's why these kinds of conversations are important. I'll be sharing not just my story, but a resource that's come from it and how it works, so that hopefully everyone will leave with some better knowledge about this resource, what it does, and hopefully then share it with someone else so that we can empower others to then change their outcomes. So that's hopefully what we're doing today. And thanks to Jennifer and to Tracy Hodges for connecting us so that we can have this conversation. So I'll go ahead and get started. Like Erica said, my name is Norma Peterson. I am the executive director of Document the Abuse, which houses what's called the Evidentiary Abuse Affidavit, which is what you see up on the screen. What it is a resource that helps victims of any type of violence, regardless of the source or any potential for violence in a relationship, whether it be domestic, sexual assault, stalking, harassment, in any way that someone feels in danger, you would be able to use this resource to document that abuse. And the reason that I do the work that I do is because I am the sister-in-law to missing Bolingbrook mother, Stacy Peterson. Stacy has been missing now for over 16 years, which is quite some time. So with so much time having been passed, I should probably give more context to the story for those that are younger that may not know really some of the details of Stacy's disappearance. So on October 28th, 2007, my 23-year-old sister-in-law, Stacy Peterson, who was married to my brother-in-law, Drew Peterson, went missing. And from that was a national headline that was created from her disappearance. And so there were a lot of things that came to the forefront when all this media attention came to her case. It was literally from one end of the country to the others, and actually it was an international story. There was literally people from all over the world that knew about my sister-in-law's disappearance. She was the fourth wife of my brother-in-law. And when she went missing and all these different things came to light during their investigation of her disappearance, they started to look into the death of his third wife, Kathleen Zavio. Kathleen had passed 3 years prior to Stacy's disappearance and had passed away from what they called an accidental drowning in a bathtub in her home. Now, mind you, this was 2 weeks before the divorce from Drew was supposed to be tied up, and she was going to get quite a bit from him. Yeah, and deservedly so. It was things to support their family and to support her as she took steps away from him. And she literally, 2 weeks before this ended, winds up dying. And it was ruled accidental. Now, when this happened, they really started to take a look at what was all the facts surrounding this. And they found out that there were multiple police reports, there were hospital reports, there were all kinds of things that should have indicated to them that there was an issue between Kathleen and Drew. And the way that they handled things in giving him professional courtesies did not really work in Kathleen's favor, nor in Stacy's, to be quite honest. So, I'm sorry. So when this all happened, and they wound up calling a world-renowned forensic specialist by the name of Dr. Michael Baden. They called him out and they wound up exhuming my sister-in-law's body and figuring out that, as opposed to being an accidental drowning, that they then charged my brother-in-law with homicide, figuring out that he had caused her demise intentionally and made it seem like it was an accident. That was their belief. They took him to court, taking all of this different evidence that they had pieced together from all these different sources, and then told this story in court. So for us, the family, we were not aware of so many of these facts that had come to light during this trial. So I'm sure that people were wondering, why is it that his family didn't get involved? Or why is it that no one addressed these types of issues with Drew if they knew him to be a concern, or that he was exhibiting these types of behaviors? And what I tried to get people to understand, and I'm sure as a lot of people who deal in domestic violence and different types of violence well understand, that when you're dealing with a narcissistic personality, such as my brother-in-law's, that it's very difficult to be able to, know all the facts that surround them, because they're very good at manipulating information, but also they keep their categories of people separate so that no one really gets the whole picture. And he had created environments within his own family that kept us away from him, because we realized that he could be a toxic person to deal with. So at the time of Kathleen's death, we were not in speaking terms. So it wasn't until her death that we then, at Stacy's behest, became reacquainted with Drew and then Stacy, because he had already moved on to his fourth wife in getting the divorce from his third wife. So she was already a part of the picture. So it was only during that period of time that we then started to re-engage. So then here we are finding out during court that all these things had gone on and had not known. Had we known so many of these things, that in the capacity that we might have been able to help, we would have. But again, going back to, when you deal with a narcissistic personality, it's very difficult to maneuver those types of situations. You realize sometimes that you're putting yourself at risk when dealing with these types of people. I mean, we truly didn't realize the capacity for violence that this man had. You don't want to believe that someone that you know and love, or that you have known for years, truly has that kind of capacity for violence. When my sister-in-law went missing, I knew the moment I was told that I was not going to see her again. It's been 16 years and then some. So the stories of these two women, Kathleen Zalio and Stacy Peterson, and what they went through and the things that they did to try to help themselves, we need to make sure that more of a difference is made from their stories so that we can change the type of outcomes that both these women dealt with. Like I said, these were national stories. We've done a lot of different shows. I've done Crime Watch, Snapped, Discovery ID, Dateline, and each time we do this, we get to share their stories so that hopefully we can change the outcomes of other victims, of other survivors. Because again, going back to all the facts that had come out during this trial in both Kathleen and in Stacy's case, there were so many red flags there. There were so many signs there. There were so many missed opportunities for different organizations to be able to help these women. And there wasn't the type of resources that we actually have now because of them to help those types of organizations then do something with that. So that's at least both of these women will make that difference for others. And that's the story that we want to tell, as opposed to talking about the perpetrator of these crimes. What we're going to do is we're going to keep these women in mind as we go forward and talk about them, talk about their stories, so that we then empower others to see that it can change for them. So that's a lot of what goes on. And so, sorry. Yeah. Like I said, even now, there is such emotion because even though it's been 16 years, sometimes it feels like yesterday. And then I look back and I see how much time has gone on. And I have watched her children grow, all their children, and they are now adults and they're doing well. And it's been something to see that even going through all of these situations as they have, that they're doing as well as they are emotionally and physically and everything else. So that at least we have comfort in, is knowing that. So does anybody have any questions in regards to either Kathleen or Stacy's story that I can address in any way so far? I don't know how familiar everyone is with their stories. Like I said, they did make national headlines. The shows still pop up from time to time. So I'm hoping that, people's familiarity is there with it. What we can do now is kind of go into how the evidentiary abuse affidavit actually started and how it can help victims of domestic violence. So this is the training that I give to a lot of different organizations such as Rise. I am part of the DuPage Family Violence Coordinating Council. So, and also am honored to say that I have been added to the new Will County Regional Domestic Violence Fatality Review Board that was created from an act that passed in 2021 that establishes these regional review boards. And so I don't know if excited is necessarily the word I want to use, but happy to say that, again, taking both these women's stories and making a difference in being able to bring their perspectives to the types of cases that are out there that we can now review and take a look at to see what can we do differently here in the systems that we have here in Illinois and make them better. Or is there legislation that needs to be enacted? Is there, different support systems or procedures that we can change in order to make it better, easier to navigate for victim survivors? of any of these types of situations. So again, going back to their voices will be heard, their stories will be told again and again and again, so that we make a difference for others and empower them so that they get to change their outcomes, or at least feel empowered to do so. So happy to say that that's part of it. Looking at training out in Lake County, Kankakee County, anywhere that there's an opportunity. If anybody wants to get a hold of me, we will be adding videos here soon, so that everybody, regardless of whether you've attended a training or not, will have access to that type of information that helps you to navigate how to do this. So on the screen, you'll see the Evidentiary Abuse Affidavit, document the abuse. It was started by a woman by the name of Susan Murphy Milano, and she was a domestic violence awareness advocate that worked for years and was nationally known. She was on the Oprah show. She was on Good Morning America. She was the go-to here in the Chicagoland area when my sister-in-law went missing. Now, she had written a book called Time's Up. How appropriate, Time's Up. And in it was the Evidentiary Abuse Affidavit in a written format. And so when she saw Stacy's case and heard about all the things that had gone on in Kathleen Savio's life, and having just written this book, she thought, oh my gosh, she has what I have in this book, this Evidentiary Abuse Affidavit. So what Susan had done in this Time's Up book was put together in a written format everything that you need, so that if you need to go to an investigator, if you need to go to an advocate, if you need to just have somewhere to put your story, you could write it all out and put everything all in one place, which was a big issue for a lot of victims, because normally their evidence tends to be all over the place, and that's just because that's the only way they have to do it. So what Susan had done was put in a book a way to list everything out. So when a victim is leaving a situation, it's more of an escape plan that someone has to put out. It's not a one-off where I'm just going to walk out the door. There has to be planning involved when someone's leaving. And what this Time's Up and Evidentiary Abuse Affidavit did was help a victim to walk through that process at a time when they needed it most, when they may be hard to gather all that information and to think about all these things at once. So that's why she had written this book. And when she saw Kathleen's case come out, she thought, she has everything. She had the police report, she had the hospital report, she had everything all assembled. So Susan and I wound up meeting and working together, because when she showed me everything and we had a chance to talk, it was like, oh my gosh, this was everything that should have happened. And now it's in an affidavit format. This is wonderful. So we started to work together. During this time, Drew was going through his trial. So he was otherwise occupied. Her and I were able to work together. But unfortunately, God has a way of changing plans. So 5 years to the day that my sister-in-law went missing, we lost Susan Murphy Milano to cancer. It just seems so ironic that she passed on the same day. 5 years that my sister-in-law went missing. So after Drew's trial, and we knew he wasn't going to get out of jail, I then took up her work when it was safe. And with my husband's help, who's the perpetrator's brother, he was able to put together a web-based app which then made it easier for victims to be able to access it. Because with just a username, a password, and access to the internet, a victim can get to it. So that's what we really are proud of in terms of the evidentiary abuse affidavit and how far it's come. It's gone from a written format to a way to be able to, oops, oh, sorry about that. There we go. But to be able to change someone's outcome. So what you'll see here are a lot of the statistics that if you work within this realm that you're familiar with. That in the US alone, 20 people per minute are physically abused. In Illinois, Uniform Crime Report, there's a lot of statistics that are in here. Researchers, advocates, IPV incidents go unreported. So that's just in the things that we know exist right now. It's prevalent in every community. We know that regardless of where you come from, how much money you have, what your status is, what your gender is, unfortunately, there are so many ways that people can find a way to abuse someone else. So it touches almost everyone. And statistics tell us that it touches almost everyone. When you look at these statistics, I mean, it's so sad to know that there are that many people that are out there suffering from this. So if we can make a difference for even one, definitely worth the time. So what we have here is a lot of times it's the victims who are getting blamed. So many times we either know someone, we are someone, or we can help someone who's dealing with domestic violence. We now have that new tool. And each day, anyone who has contact with advocates has some way on behalf, always looking for better ways to hold abusers accountable. That's what this is going to do. These are just some other facts that are in here. It doesn't just affect the victims. It's also affecting all of our loved ones, who so many times just want to do something to help. So not only does the EAA work for just the victim themselves, we are going to be able to, advocates can use this. Counselors can use this. Law enforcement can use this. The judicial system would be able to in some capacity use this. Even if someone's not here to speak on their behalf, it eliminates that hearsay. So these are powerful tools that we're going to have. And more importantly, what it does is it gives power and control back to that victim survivor. We're going to empower them. That's really what we're going for in doing this, is we're trying to give them back their power and control. So I call it the EAA for short, the Evidentiary Abuse Affidavit. It can be quite a mouthful. What it does is it allows victims to document all in one place their stories, their histories, that are stored on their behalf. It's always available to use regardless of when navigating different environments. It allows victims to be able to assemble their police reports, their hospital reports, their emails, their correspondence, any photos, evidence of abuse, both in a written and a video format, to put their testimony all in one place. And then what it can be done is you can print it out and have it notarized. We're working with also digital notarization online. So we're going to see about incorporating that into this soon. So we're looking at what the legal implications are of doing something of that nature. So that's also something else that will hopefully eliminate any other obstacle that someone might have if they want to take it to that level, because ultimately that takes it to its full efficiency is when you can get it notarized, or if you can print it and give a copy to someone. That's also a very powerful way to have it be seen, or at least have it in someone else's possession if anything should happen. So what it does is it lets a victim tell their stories in a meaningful way. It's preserved and stored on their behalf at no cost. So we didn't want there to be any issues with anybody having to choose whether they're going to get a gallon of gas, a gallon of milk, or fill out an evidentiary abuse affidavit. We wanted no issues. So no matter how many times they go on there, it's there for them. There's no cost. There's no judgment. There's no anything. This is what I like to call a digital diary, if you will, which helps, I think, victims to be able to feel safe in what they're doing, because they're the only ones that see this unless they decide to share it with someone. So again, going back to what it puts together, their hospital reports, their police reports, any abusive emails or correspondence. Sometimes people don't think to do screen captures. You can download that to it. Anything that helps to substantiate, corroborate, or validate what it is that you're putting in there. So we are going to be going through and what the EAA looks like so that people know how to fill it out. So what you want to do, again, going back to, we want you to tell somebody so that you can give a copy to someone so that they at least know that it's there, or even if you just want to tell someone. Going the wrong way.
Just chime in,
All
Remy.
right.
Could everybody see Norma's screen or her PDF? So I have somebody in the chat mentioning that they cannot.
I can see it. However, our little gallery, the photos are blocking part of it, but
Yeah,
otherwise
I know.
can see it
Okay,
still.
so let me get rid of the gallery there. Is that better?
I mean, I just put one little thumbnail now, so I'm able to see it. I don't know.
Yeah, because I don't have anything up on my screen except for that right now.
It says in the US alone, 20 people per minute.
It's the first PDF.
You know what? Okay, what's on your screen right now?
It says in the US alone, 20 people per minute are physically.
Oh, that's it? You know what? Then something stopped, because I've gone like 3 other ones since then.
Okay.
Then something stopped. Hold on. Yeah, because I've done multiple ones since then. So nothing's changing on your end?
No.
Okay. I'm going to stop the share for a minute. I want to go into here. Give me just a minute. Put it on review. All right. Hold on just a second. Give me just a second. We're going to try this one more time and see if it comes up. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's try.
Yeah.
So now
what is the EAA? That's the.
Okay. So you know what? I'm just going to share that whole thing, because I think once I go into presenter view, for some reason I'm losing it.
Okay.
Let's try this. So what do you see now?
It's the same one. What is the EAA?
But is it full screen, or are you seeing all the black and the next slide and all that?
Yeah, I still see the slides on the side.
Okay. What do you see now?
Same thing. Yeah.
Not only,
Mm-mm.
yeah, you know what it is? I'm sorry about that. So,
Right.
yeah. So it's not changing at all then, huh?
Mm-mm. No, it looks like it's the same.
Okay, so then here's what I'm gonna do is just, I'll go into and show. And just leave it. If you guys don't mind.
Okay. Someone said they could see the slides now. I don't see it on my end though.
Okay, so here's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna leave these slides on the side,
Okay.
if that works for everybody.
Okay. It looks, yeah, it's on the slide 18. Is that?
Yeah,
Okay.
so
Okay.
yeah, so here's what I'll do is I'll go back to this one. So
Mhm.
then, yeah, you guys will be able to see it, but you'll just have to bear with me because I don't know why it's doing
No,
that.
that works. When you're clicking, it does change it. So
Yeah,
on my end.
yeah,
So
so we'll just do it that way. So this will make more sense when I'm talking because now that's all the points that I had.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it wasn't changing. I'm sorry. We probably should have checked it.
It's fine. It's
Yeah,
fine.
so that's what a lot of these are. It's just different slides that go along with, and if anybody needs the slides, just let me know. You know, we can have them available during or afterwards. So
Yeah.
this is basically just going through the information. When I was talking about the evidentiary abuse affidavit, and if anybody wants to do a screen capture of that, it does. And all of these things are also on our website, which is everything that I pulled off of there. So it does show you all of that. So it is just, again, it's available for a victim to use in a meaningful way when navigating different environments. So what it is a way to assemble all of your different things, your police reports, your hospital reports, your emails, your correspondence, photos, evidence of abuse. Like, let's say you took pictures of a hole in the wall, or you know, something that was torn, or your things were destroyed or thrown around. You know, anything that helps to substantiate, validate, or corroborate what it is that you're stating. And so it's a digital diary. It's a way for victims to be able to take their stories and be able to make a difference with them, to be able to own what's going on with them, and to be able to look at it in a way that hopefully then empowers them to think, I can do something differently. I can look at my story and think, it doesn't have to keep going like this. I can search for ways to change my outcome. So that's really what we're trying to get people to do also as a part of this, is not only to give them somewhere to go where they don't have to feel shame and blame and judgment because no one else sees it but them, but also to, in a way, have them take a look at the summary of things. Because so many times when victims are going through these types of situations, what they're doing is they're just getting through that day. I just need to get through my day, and tomorrow's another day. So each day is taken in its own context. And sometimes it takes writing that out in order for you to realize, wow, look at all the things I'm dealing with. Look at all the things that my family is dealing with. I see where the potential that this has. So maybe what we do is we, in doing this, give them a way to look at things a little bit more objectively and then decide, I'm going to do something about this. I'm going to change this. So that's truly, you know, what we're looking at with the EAA. It's a way for them to tell. And it's also, if we don't talk too much about this, an evidentiary will, an affidavit. And we don't like to talk about that just because of the outcome that occurs when you get to that point. But for some people, that is the reality. Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, can I ask you a quick question? Where do you find this? How do you find
It's on documenttheabuse.com.
Okay.
So if you just go to the website, and I have a QR code that will show up at the back end of this presentation,
Mhm.
because that we also have QR cards that we give to various organizations. So if you're part of an organization that's interested, please feel free to reach out to me, because I do have cards that we can give out. And what they are is, and I thought I had a bunch of them right here. Now I don't know what I'm doing. Okay. So what they are is a QR card that allows us to be able to, and like I said, you'll see it at the end, and just allows us to be able to very quickly give whoever it is in that organization the ability to give somebody information quickly. You know, everybody's going towards QR codes, and that way you don't necessarily, I mean, if you had to, you could just give them the QR code and say, okay, if you can do this later, and they can hide it in their shoe, they can take a picture of it, they can put it in their sock, you know, so there's a way for them to do it, and nobody really has to know that they have it. And we wanted it so that if law enforcement uses this, they don't have something additional that they really have to add to their equipment, because they already carry so much. And so it's just a card. So it's easy for law enforcement to be able to use this in their dealings with people. So in DuPage, in being part of the DuPage Family Violence Coordinating Council, they have a QR code initiative. So if you are within the DuPage County area, please check out the DuPage Family Violence Coordinating Council. And I believe it's on a lot of different websites that they have a QR code initiative. And what that QR code initiative does is it supplies all the different resources that are available within DuPage County that victims can access. So we are a part of that QR code initiative. So everybody's realizing the power that QR codes have to get information out to victims. So, you know, that's, again, going back to, we want to make this easy. We want to make this, you know, efficient for everybody to use, and make it powerful, so that the time spent, the effort spent is minimal, but what we're going to get, what victims are going to get out of this is going to be magnified 100 times. So it at least gives them a way to, you know, again, hopefully change their outcomes. So you're able to upload everything to it. There is also a way to videotape their testimony within this EAA. And so not only are we providing a written way to do this, but there's also the capacity to then record yourself within the app to say what it is that you've put in here. So within 5 to 7, we ask that you keep it 5 to 7 minutes. You state what you just stated in there, and it's downloaded to the EAA. So not only is it someone's written story, but it's also someone saying, this is what is going on with me. And imagine if we could have heard from Kathy herself all the things that wound up coming out in court, if we could have heard them in her voice, how powerful that would have been for a jury to hear. So again, that is why, you know, so much of the work of Document the Abuse occurs, is because we truly want to make a difference in every way possible for victims to be able to feel safer telling their information and putting it in a way that makes them feel like maybe they can do something with it. So that's what we're hoping for. So it also helps anyone who advocates on their behalf, because it helps with recollection of events to bring forth evidence. Friends and family may be able to open up a conversation by offering awareness of the resource as a way to reach out. So in saying that, what we're doing is we're saying that if, let's say, I can't get, Stacy, let's just take Stacy. My sister-in-law was going through some things, but she may not have felt safe writing them all out. I, as her sister-in-law, could have filled one out on her behalf because this was what I was witnessing. So it even gives friends and family, co-workers, if it is workplace violence, a way to maybe take some action on behalf of that loved one. So we've even, you can even do it on someone's behalf, because if you can't get them to do it, they don't feel safe, maybe you can do it. Or maybe what you do is, in filling this out on someone's behalf, you now corroborate their information. And maybe an abuser is more easily held accountable for their actions because of it. So we never know to what extent the kind of impact this kind of a resource can have for everyone that gets to work with it. So as we use Kathleen's case as a way to really underline and underscore the way that the EAA can change an outcome, because she was not here to tell everyone an EAA could have done that for her. Instead, they had to go through subpoenas. They had to go through mounds of evidence to try to put it together. What the EAA does, it puts it all together so that law enforcement has a running start to knowing what a situation was. Maybe the judicial system, when someone has to recollect their facts, has a better way of doing that, so that, again, all this information presents itself in a way that makes it more powerful for that victim. Here, there's a lot of different facts. Yes.
Oh no, I was just going to ask, do you need permission from the victims to do that, or can you do it on your
Well,
own?
here's the thing. Well, no, because you're doing it as an observer. So if someone is coming to you, what you're doing is you're making a statement saying, this person came to me on this date. I saw a bruise on their, upper arm, and they told me that this happened. So what you're doing is you're offering corroborating testimony. That victim doesn't necessarily need to be a part of that testimony, because those are your particular observations of what's occurring.
Mm-hmm.
So, as to whether they agree to it or they don't, if you can ask them, hey, can I do this on your behalf? And they're like, I'd prefer if you didn't. But what you can do is, on your own behalf, you can start one to say, okay, maybe I can't fill one on for you, but what I can do is fill out what I'm observing. And if you're close enough, you're seeing a lot of these things. If they're showing you bruises, you can take pictures. If they're showing you holes in the wall, you can take pictures. If they're showing you screen captures, have them send them to you. So there's a lot of different ways, and you'd be surprised at when you open the door for someone to be able to tell, and maybe in a way that doesn't make them feel compromised for themselves or to fear for their own safety, that sometimes that helps open that conversation. So hopefully, that answers, that question. So yeah, you're writing it as an observer, as someone who can then offer, compelling testimony to what was going on. So what we're talking about here is, as we well know, in a lot of different ways, how someone can unfortunately abuse another person, whether it be mental, psychological, emotional, financial. Coercive control is now a big word in the environment. And I'm glad that it is a part of the conversation, because it is a part of abuse, is coercive control. And again, going back to victims not being able to see the collective, we want to offer people back a power and control. That's what they've lost. We want to give them back their autonomy. We want to give them back their stories and ultimately their lives is what we're working towards. So what we'll do now is basically these are all slides that I picked up off of our website. So you'll, as I walk through this, these are all things that you'll be able to then see on the website that helps walk you through how this all works. So you'll see, you know, this is our homepage here. It gives you what is the evidentiary abuse affidavit. There are instructions on the EAA. And the reason that we do that is because we're asking for information. And we know a lot of times victim survivors don't have a lot of time to fill things out because they're being tracked or watched or what have you. So what we do is we strongly encourage people to look through the instructions first, so that when you do sit down to do this, you've assembled as much of your information together as possible to make the most efficient use of your time, so that when you do fill it out, you can do it hopefully all in one sitting. It's not a difficult thing to do. It's only 3 pages. We wanted to make it, you know, as automated as possible and as time efficient as possible. Again, going back to the fact that we know victims are being watched and they're being timed. That's what Drew did to Stacy all the time. So we want to make sure that we're doing our best to keep victims safe. So if we can prep you for what you need beforehand, we're going to try and make that safer for you to do then. And then once you've gone through it, we have a direct EAA app login. So this way you can go on the page, go directly to your app login and go and do your EAA. Because you have access to this thing and can update it as many times as you feel you need to. So we know it takes an average of 5 to 7 times for a victim to leave a situation or to think about leaving a situation. So if we can get to that person by the 3rd time, to get them to start writing these things down, we know that the violence escalates. So now it's that 5th time and things have happened that now make it so that decisions have to be made. And so now what that person has is this collective of information that has been stored for them because they took the time to do this now. And again, anything that offers a victim a way to empower themselves is going to be a way for them to change their outcome. In terms of abuse, even when you talk about psychological, I did see that in the chat. So psychological abuse, you can write down, and I'm not sure if you're in terms of being an observer of this or whether you are the person that is being abused by psychological abuse. There's still a way to write these things down. Sometimes in notes you can record and then you'd be able to download that, because we well know that abusers know how to do things without getting caught. And with psychological abuse, that's some of the most dangerous that is out there because of the way that it is perpetrated. But if you can write things down, if you can record, if you can in any way find a way to make this abuse known, but even if it's just writing it down, you know, this person said these types of things to me, you know, on this date. That next day, they called me 50 times just to make sure that they knew that I was there. So, I mean, there's still ways that you can write this down, because what you're doing is you're showing a systemic pattern of behavior. So regardless of what that abuse is, we want to go with believe the survivor. believe the person that is writing these things down, because here's what they're telling us. So psychological abuse, we know, is so difficult to be able to prove, but if in a pattern of behavior day after day after day, you're going to be able to show that. And if a state's attorney can premise, this with what psychological abuse is, and then be able to, that person then be able to share their story, maybe what we get is a jury that understands this is what went on. Because look at, they called them, they did this, they did that. So hopefully what we're doing is trying to give, again, anyone that has these types of abuses going on, either with themselves or someone they love, a way to talk about it, a way to write it down. Yeah, that's what we're trying to do, is make a difference. So what it does is, now we're going to walk through, once you click on the evidentiary abuse affidavit, we're going to walk through this process quickly. So the EAA will start with a name and a date that you are filling this out. So you'll see here. So what I did was I took Kathleen's information, because we know through the court records, this was what her information was. So what you would do is go on here, and what you'll see here on the right next to the next button is a save progress button. So each page has save progress, so that if you should happen to not have the time, you've only got 15 minutes. So it's whatever I can do in 15 minutes. So you can do it, and then just hit save progress. If you've got to come back to it, no problem. It's all there. You don't have to refill it out. So each page has that, and each page has an exit now at the front, at the top, and at the bottom, so that we've got a way to let victims know that they're okay, or they can pop off as soon as they need to. So our first page is about you, the abused. So we're just going to ask for the basic information. You saw that we asked for the first name on the first page. Then we go into the your name, your email address, your street address, a lot of the last 4 digits of your social, just for data information, the date of birth, your hair color, your eye color. We're going to start to get into what you look like, what is your information, because we're building a story about you. In the event you aren't here and someone has to take this information and take it to a law enforcement officer, what we're doing is we're trying to give them as much information up front as possible, so that they don't waste any time, effort, or money looking for things that are right there for them. So that's what we're doing in presenting this type of information and asking victims for this type of information, is so that in the event that, hopefully they are here to discuss it and talk about it and give everybody their information. But if they're not, someone can take it and run with it and go with it and do what they need to do with it. So what we'll ask you to do is your name, your doctor's name, your dentist's name, things of that nature. Let's go back. Who your employer is, your physical description, any tattoos, identifying features. So I don't recall. So I did take the liberty of putting, I have a scar on my left upper arm from stitches, and I usually have acrylic nails on. I wear a heart necklace that my sons gave me. So these are just things that if anybody should have to look for you, identify you, we have that information there. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. So we then go into your auto information. So if we have to look for a particular car, what the make, the model, the year, the plate number, if you have it, if you have children with this abuser, what are their names, their ages. And what we have the ability to do inside of this app is, you'll see where it says photo library, take a photo or video, or choose a file. So what we're going to do is we're going to ask you to upload a recent photo of yourself. So within the app, you can take a photo or a video of yourself and upload it. if you have it on your library, on your phone or on your desktop, you can upload it from there. Or if somebody sends you a file, here, let me take a picture, but I'll send it to you in a file so it doesn't look like a picture. You can then pick up a file and do it. Any photos or videos that are taken inside of the app are not seen on the phone. So you don't have to worry about whether you erase that photograph or you erase that video, because it's taken within the app. The app uploads it directly to your EAA, and then you are able to keep it there and not have to worry about, oh God, did I erase it? Or, oh, did I remove it? And, oh, are they going to find it? So that was one of the really nice things that we thought about during this process for this feature. So what we did was we uploaded a beautiful picture of my sister-in-law, Kathy. And so you'll see we chose a file that I had on there. So when you take a photo or a video, it doesn't appear in your saved photos. So now we are at the second page. We also have, you'll see that there is a 50% complete. And what you'll see there is you'll know where you're at in the process. So this way, again, if there is a time limitation, okay, I'm 50% complete or I'm 75% complete, I can finish it later. I can, so we're doing our best to try to keep victims in mind and how they have to sometimes work within their environments. So trying to go back to that. So you'll see here, now we're going to get into the information about the abuser themselves. So you'll see the abuser's name and their street address, and we're going to go through that same process that we did with ourselves at the beginning and do that same thing for the person that is abusing us. And if we have that information, or to whatever extent that we do have that information. So let's say you're talking about workplace violence. You may not have all that information, but you can put in there what you do have access to. So the last part of this is where you're going to list the specific instances to the best of your recollection. So what you'll see on here is I, Kathleen Peterson, and that's because this is filled out with her information. So this is where you're going to start to list the different information that you have in here. So what I did was I took one of these instances that she had and listed it in here. So I'm just going to go through it real quick just to give you some idea of what this poor woman dealt with. So on July 5th, 2002, I was alone in the home as my boys were out at camp. Drew entered the house without my knowledge and caught me on the stairs by surprise with a knife in his hand. He proceeded to threaten me in numerous ways, and he told me everyone would be better off with me dead. After holding me hostage for 3 hours, I had finally told him to just go ahead as I was sick and tired of his threats. He said, no, I wasn't worth the effort, but I better rethink the divorce. That was just one in the instances of what she had to deal with. Unfortunately, with so many people, and I'm sure as some of you are familiar with, that happens on a daily basis for some people. I can't imagine the fear and the terror that Kathleen lived with. Then what we'll do is we'll go into explain other issues, concerns, and threats in the relationship. And again, what we are going to do is ask you to be somewhat brief in description. We don't want to get long stories told. We need to get what the snapshot of the situation is. So in here, what we did was Drew has on numerous occasions threatened to kill me and make it look like an accident. During our marriage, he has given me multiple black eyes and bruises, and he has mentally and emotionally abused me for years. sometimes in front of our children. He has made everything seem like my fault and takes no responsibility for his behavior. He has a new young girlfriend who is also harassing me with no idea what she's getting herself into. So that's what we mean by other issues, concerns, and threats. So not only the listings of the actual abuse itself, but also what other issues do you have? What are the concerns? I'm afraid they're going to hurt the children. They're threatening my coworkers, so these are the other sidebar things that are happening outside of even the specifics of abuse. And then what we do is we ask, have you been to the hospital due to your injuries? And then listing on here. Unfortunately, Kathleen again had many instances of abuse. Here is another one in terms of April 28th, 1993. After a huge argument, Drew tore through the house, destroying everything, and it ended when he pushed my head into our dining room table. I thought I might have a concussion, so I went to the hospital. I have attached the police report. I thought he was going to kill me. Very sobering words to read. And again, had all of these things been listed together, they should have triggered a response that better served her, and it didn't. So again, going back to it, we just want to make a difference. We want to empower people. We want to make outcomes different, and this is our way of doing it. So now you can talk about the police reports, their interactions, possible divorce information, anything else that will help to substantiate or corroborate. So have you had any contact with the police? You can put in the police report numbers here. Have you, that goes back to the hospital visits. Are you currently in divorce court? You can list the case number and the date of filing. You can upload the photos of your injuries or your physical abuse, any damage to the possessions, home. Again, going back to this photo library and things, this option here. So very quickly, we're just going to kind of fly through this. I probably should have warned you that there would be some images. That's the only one that are a little hard to look at. But these were some of the things that came up in court. This kind of tells you really how the evidentiary abuse affidavit would have worked for Kathleen, or hopefully will work for somebody in her situation. So she had a letter written to the Will County State's Attorney. She had written a letter to the Will County State's Attorney's office talking about the fact that, hey, you have this police officer and he is running rampant and causing me harm and threatening harm to me, and you're doing nothing about it. She got no response. There was a letter written to her from someone at the city of Bolingbrook that told her about this affair that Drew was having, and everyone knew it but her. These are some of the orders of protection that she had just in dealing with him, and you'll see the different instances here. Here's an emergency room report. Here's the physician's report on that hospital visit. This was the one that she was talking about in terms of that dining room table. The boys, her children were young and were in the house on the day of that incident, and they were told not to come down the stairs no matter what they heard. And Eric, the oldest son, testified it sounded like there was a freight train running through the house. This was the physician's report from that incident. Again, what this woman went through, and she shouldn't have. The system should have worked better for her. And that's why working with these various organizations also will help, because we'll be able to give them the concerns, the issues facing victims of violence, and what they can do differently to try to help that. And I see the differences in the systems, even as we speak, from what they were 16 years ago. So it gives me faith that we are going in the right direction. Here is a domestic incident report, which she went through many of. And so when they were going through the trial, the Bolingbrook Police Department finally had to put out a press release, because they had seen, the media had seen so many calls that they couldn't believe. So they were like, are you serious? So they had to put out a list of calls. And look at this, from 2002 to 7/5 of 02, there are 7 calls in 5 months. How is it that nothing was ever done? We're going to make a difference with that. So now we've come to what is the end of the evidentiary abuse affidavit. Or this is where you would now do that recording. So you'll see in here, record a video of you reading this affidavit and then upload it here. What we do is we ask you to have a photo of your abuser to show on the video when you're providing your video testimony. Again, what we're doing is asking you for the information that's best going to serve everyone who is advocating on your behalf, if that need is necessary. We're hoping that it's not, and we're hoping by empowering people to do these kinds of things that we don't look at those same kind of results. But if we have to, then we are giving the systems that are here in place to hold those abusers accountable the full ability to do so, is what we're doing. So in here is the way to upload that video. Also, if you are printing it out, this is where you would have it notarized. And then at the end is a printable receipt that then tells you that it is done, it is being held on your behalf, and there is your reference. It can't be deleted. You can always start another one, because unfortunately we know that sometimes people will change situations, maybe change partners, and they may find that the same situation starts to occur but with someone different. They can then start another EAA. There is no judgment. There's no anything to keep someone from doing this. What we're doing is, like I said, trying to give everyone the ability to change their outcomes. Here is the QR code. If anybody wants to take a picture of it, it's right there. Like I said, I have a lot of cards and things like that. So we have information available. So if you want to talk to Ann Rise, or if you want to contact me directly, we have a contact information on the website. And so we have let's see there. Okay, so now that's off. So that hopefully gave you a really good idea of what the evidentiary abuse affidavit does, how it works. Anybody can use it. You can use it on behalf of anybody. So what I would ask everybody to do today is just tell one other person that it exists. So whether it's an organization, it's a person, what we find is that so many times we don't know how this information gets out. So you never know when someone's listening. You never know. I've had people overhear conversations that I've had with someone else and say, hey, I kind of heard what you were saying. Do you mind telling me about that? So it happens, and like I said, so many times we know someone and we don't even realize it. You know, so when sometimes you just share information, oh, hey, I heard about this thing last night. You don't know that that person doesn't need that information. We don't know who we're helping when we share this type of thing. So that's what, you know, why this type of platform is so important and why conversations like these are important. And I can't tell everyone I can't thank everyone enough for taking the time out of your evening and your busy lives to be a part of this conversation and to get this information, because every time we do this, we get to put it out there and we get to bring more awareness and we get to hopefully change outcomes for other people.
Norma, thank you so much for sharing all of this. I already know 2 people that could probably use this, and it brought me to tears.
Oh,
And you know, you're right. It is the system is screwed up and they couldn't do anything about these situations. So this is a safe place. It feels very safe from what I've learned already. So I definitely will look into it, and I'll definitely share this with the 2 gals that I know of. Thank you for all the, insights and everything, and appreciate you sharing this with our community. If anyone has any questions for Norma, or, we can also add if you like and address it.
yeah.
And then, Norma, you can also, share with us how we can get in touch with you, or I know you shared with us the site. And
right. So if you go on documenttheabuse.com, there is
Mhm.
a sheet on there that if you want me to contact you, I also have an email. It's my full name, Norma M. Peterson, all one word, and that's SON, and that's at Comcast.net. So you can contact me there also. So I'm working with a lot of different organizations, getting this out there. Like I said, I have just been, we got big news coming up. Like I said, being part of this homicide review, fatality review board is huge in terms of what it could mean for victim survivors and how they navigate the system. We're going to be looking at cases and making recommendations and things like that. It's going to be a long process, but one that we're very committed to. And I believe it's going to really show, not just here in Illinois, but show Illinois as a way to be a model on how we can address more issues for that survivors have to navigate in these environments.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. So it is Norma M. Peterson.
Correct. Norma
At
M.
Comcast.
Peterson.
Okay.
.net.
We'll put that in the chat there.
There you go. Thank you.
You said
yes.
At Comcast, right? You said .net? Okay.
Correct. Comcast.net.
Okay.
Yeah. So watch, I've got another big announcement coming out. There's
Oh yeah?
we recently did an interview. I've done, like I said, there's I believe Dateline just ran again. And so each time we do this, we see more traffic, and it gets it out there, gets that information out in a national way. So that's what we're looking at doing. So there's going to be another one that's coming out. So I'll be putting that on the website and on the LinkedIn. I do a lot of stuff on LinkedIn and on Facebook. So you can find me there also. So if you know of anybody that I do speaking engagements and do trainings, things like that. So I'll always appreciate any opportunity to spread the news.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Hope everyone else is doing great out there and doing okay.
All right, great.
Okay.
If anybody has any
Thank
other
you.
questions or anything, otherwise, yeah, I mean, we're wrapping up right at 8:30, so we're doing pretty good. I know
Yes, I think we have a question.
we had a little bit of a rough start there, but we got through it.
How many, like I have multiple abusers, so like can you fill out, you said you can fill out affidavits for like all of them, or is there a limit?
Yes, you can. No.
Okay. And what's the
No.
time limit when you're doing it? Like, does it tell you you only have 15 minutes left, or it's gonna time out and then not save your stuff?
There's no, yeah, to the best of my knowledge, it does not time out. Not the way that the form is set up.
Okay,
It should let you continue for as long as you need to. You can save your progress, like I said, on the top or on the bottom, so that if you have to leave in a hurry, you can just hit save progress and leave, exit now.
okay,
So this way you don't lose the progress that you've made so far. But if you have, multiple people to which you need to fill one of these out for, it doesn't matter. Fill it out for every person that you have to do that for, because you're the only one that sees them.
okay.
So that exists for you. So unless you choose, and that's kind of what we were looking for. We wanted to empower victims to be able to decide how their stories got told, because so many times their stories are being told for them, just because of the environments that they're in. And so this is a way for them to own their story. This is a way for them to control how that information gets shared and how they choose to do it. So hopefully it gives them more autonomy over themselves, gives them more power, more control, or more of a feeling of control.
Okay,
So yeah, we try to make it open. So yes, do what you need to do for whoever you need to do it for. And I'm sorry that you have to do that. I really am, because it's not an easy situation to navigate. So you have my thoughts and my prayers.
thank you.
Mm-hmm. So
Hey, I just wanted to thank you for sharing your story. It really touched me because I was very familiar with the case. At that time, I was living in Northwest Indiana, and I had a friend that was in law enforcement in Cook County, and she was very close to the case. And but I appreciate you sharing and for being as strong as you were during the process and sharing with us tonight. It really touched my heart. And I
thank you.
appreciate that you doing this for us. Even though I'm not in Illinois at the time, I'm currently a victim and I'm in Tennessee. But I can still utilize the program for myself. And it's a wonderful program, and I appreciate you doing that for us. And again,
No
I
problem.
really appreciate you sharing your story and doing something like this, and passing it on for people because of what you went through. And God bless you, Norma. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. It's things like that that feed me, because it was a difficult thing. It is a difficult thing to go through. And the thought process that someone you love went through such a terrible time and you had no idea. You go through shoulda, woulda, coulda. If I would have known, I would have done something differently. I could have helped, or I should have, so you have a tendency to beat yourself up with the whole shoulda, woulda, coulda thing. So we want to take that shoulda, woulda, coulda to I can, I will, and I am. So we're going to take it to the positive. We're going to say, I can make a difference. I will do whatever is necessary to do so. And I am by being here right now. So we're taking that shoulda, woulda, coulda and giving survivors a way to do it. And I'm giving myself a way to change the conversation. So I get to flip that shoulda, woulda, coulda and make it into I can, I will, and I am.
Thank you again.
So,
it's very powerful. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate everybody taking their time. It's not easy to snag people's times. So I do appreciate guys taking the time out to be here today. So,
Thank you so much, Norma. That was awesome.
oh, sure.
Anybody have any other comments that they would like to add?
Thank you. It was very interesting. I'm glad I learned about this.
Good. Yeah. Wonderful. Yeah. Like I said, if everybody just tells one other person, you never know who you're going to affect or who you might be helping. Everybody knows someone is what they put, and everyone knows someone. So statistics tell us that that's what's going on out there. So, all right, you guys. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And hopefully I'll talk to you ladies soon.
Yes.
And get you some cards and give Jennifer my thoughts. Tell her thank you for saving us. I
Yes,
appreciate
yes.
it.
Yes.
The Zoom meeting has been recorded, so I'm assuming it's going to be available pretty soon. But yeah, we will love to keep in contact. And yeah, I'll get back to Jennifer about the meeting. But thank you
Okay,
again.
and as you can see, my coworker over here never
Yes.
woke up the whole.
Oh,
Look at this face.
Comfy.
I know it. I've been
You
just
guys are
disappointed.
entranced, and this one's face smushed into the chair over here.
Oh,
Oh,
oh.
look it. Oh my. I have been dissed in my own home. Oh my gosh. Okay, this person, never
Oh
mind.
man. Kitties.
Okay, well, thank you guys so
you so
much for being here, and
Thank
thanks
you.
for giving me this opportunity, and hope that we can talk soon.
Yes, will do. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Good night.
Okay, take care,
Take care,
everyone.
everyone.
Nice to talk to you. Thank you.
Guys.
Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.